Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ask Dubey. We had 1 week off. I was out in beautiful British Columbia for my sister-in-law's wedding, so we were kind of off the grid. We were trying to make it happen, but connections didn't really work. So we're back with you this week. Thanks for joining. As always, this segment is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. All right, since we're still midsummer, although we're getting close to training camp, which is exciting, not too much news to catch up on, so we'll get right into the questions here. First question from Blue and Copper 99. After being traded, you came back to Edmonton with Nashville, and we were smoking them. You were the backup. Crowd was chanting, "We want Dubey." Do you remember that? Absolutely, I remember that. And I was terrified. I felt like I was a rookie goaltender again and hadn't played an NHL game. I know we've talked lots about that trade and that year and just not being in a great headspace, not feeling good about my game. And I mean, it was weird enough to get traded. I talked about waking up and forgetting that I was traded and wondering if I could be back in Edmonton. And Edmonton was the only team I'd ever been with. It was the only thing I'd ever known. And it wasn't too long after. I wasn't with Nashville for very long, so it couldn't have been that long after. But coming back was really weird. Being back in Edmonton, being in Rexall, seeing the guys. I mean, that first time you've ever been traded, there's just so much going on. And to come back into Edmonton, it was still weird going forward. The times I came back with Arizona and with Minnesota, it started to get more normal and more normal. But that first time, I remember that because I remember sitting on the bench and I did not want to go in. I was so nervous. Like I said, I felt like a 23-year-old again who was sitting in Vancouver waiting to get chucked in there on Hockey Night in Canada, and just was so nervous and couldn't feel my body and did not want to go in there. I was certainly rooting for Carter Hutton to make some saves. But certainly appreciate the fan support. They probably wanted me in there because I probably would have given up a few more at that time, and the score really would have got ugly. But I definitely do remember that, and I did appreciate it. I appreciated hearing it. However, I didn't want that to come true at the time. All right, next question from Alex. I'm going to say Zed. I've been living in the States for a while, so I've been forcing myself to say Z, which is weird. It's still weird for me to say Z, so don't worry. I'm still saying Zed. From Alex Zed. Did you ever study shooters on the opposing team, or did you trust your instincts? That is a great question, and it's a combination of both. When you study, you absolutely study shooters. So what the important thing is, it's knowing tendencies, which can be different things. How they shoot. Do they like to shoot lots? Like, do they shoot from bad angles? Do they shoot all the time? Do they not shoot all the time? Are they looking to pass more? All these things. And then in certain situations, do some guys have tricky shots that they like to try to catch you off guard? And I'll give you a few examples. And this was kind of every team. You go through the lineup and you try to find guys' tendencies. And when I say that, though, it's tendencies to prepare for something that's maybe a little out of the ordinary that guys are good at, so you can be ready for it. But you still have to be reactionary and you still have to play. You're never guessing where a guy's going to shoot. You're prepared, knowing that that's something he likes to do. So you might have an advantage and a step up when they do that. If they're doing something that they do more often, that's all it is. You still have to react to the shot. These guys are the best players in the world. They're not going to do the same thing every single time. So it's finding tendencies to be prepared for, but you still have to react to it. So I'll give you guys some good examples. I'll start in Edmonton, for example. Connor McDavid. He's changed a lot, obviously, since I've played. I think he shoots a little bit more now, but he's a pass guy. And when he's going 100 miles an hour, and he'll make passes in situations that are crazy. I mean, I look at the playoffs. If it was McDavid, you have to be aware that he wants to pass. Now, the reason he's great also is he will shoot it past you, but he'll pass in situations that other guys just won't pass in. So that's something that you have to be prepared for. A Draisaitl, everybody knows he loves his backdoor. He loves his office. So in that one, couple things on that play is, one, you have to know he's there. So you have to be prepared to get there. And then two, you have to know where he likes to put it, and he is able to put it up short side high. It doesn't always go high, but an important part of that play to be able to stop it is knowing he's there and being ready to make the push and getting the proper rotation, getting your post, because you'll see, even if you know he's there, if you're late on the push and you come across flat, that short side is going to be open and he can beat guys just past them on the short side. It doesn't necessarily need to go onto the bar. And then if you do get a push over there, sometimes he just still beats guys anyway. So you need to understand that if you did get a good turn and a good push over there, you got to be ready to try to cover up under the bar there. There's an example of Leon, Patrick Kane, always a dangerous guy. Didn't seem like a hard shot, although it was harder than it seemed. But he was a placement guy. He would beat you with accuracy. And same kind of thing. He'd shoot up high, sharper angles, and he'd just catch it. He was kind of a guy that you just had to watch, because in times when it didn't necessarily feel like he was in a dangerous area, maybe a little bit further away from the net, not far away, but he could catch you with his accuracy, and he'd throw it on net and know exactly where it was going. So you just always had to be ready for him to throw something sneaky at you that was almost always going to be in a difficult spot. So you kind of had to be on your toes a little bit with him. Sidney Crosby, another one. This is a guy that I've talked about he's one guy, when I obviously played a lot of games. I felt like I was in control and I was ahead of the game, and I kind of knew what the guys were going to do. It didn't mean they couldn't beat me with the play, but I felt comfortable out there and felt like I knew what was going on. And Sid he was a guy, and I didn't play him a lot. Just, he makes you feel uncomfortable. He makes you feel the opposite way. Like, he's ahead of you. He's thinking ahead of you, and he's looking at you, and he's trying to get you to cheat. And he's obviously one of the best players ever, and his IQ is through the roof. So it almost sometimes felt like he was toying with you, and it was an uncomfortable feeling, because that wasn't the case with very many players, very, very little players. Even the best of the best guys, it wasn't that same feeling that I had with Sid, where it felt like he was like I was being hunted out there by Sid, and he was just watching me and waiting for me to like bend my knee the wrong way so he could zip it past me on the short side. And he would a lot. Like he'd be coming in and he's so quick with his hands, he'd be sticking and he just one little lean, one little turn on the post, and he's looking at you, he's waiting for it, and he'll try to just catch you on the ice, bad angle shots, anything around the net, get you looking the wrong way as he's going around the net. I mean, he was so good around the net, and he could get it off short stick with it, not much curve. He could get it off, and he could zip the puck good and accurate too. So he was a scary one. And then when it comes to big shots from the point, it's a different thing. But playing against Shea Weber, Sheldon Surrey back in the day, he probably had the hardest shot that I'd ever seen in my life. It's similar, but I played more against Shea Weber, and it was unique. They're kind of the only guys I look at that could beat you clean from the point. And when I say that, I don't mean that they could actually beat you clean if you were just standing there and ready for it and prepared for the speed. But the thing is their shot was so much harder. And you get this with Bush a little bit. He's got a cannon too, but Surrey was up in the 106, 107 mile an hour range. And I know Weber was in that 104 range too. And what happens is you're so used to trajectories of the puck when you see them on one-timers from the point, in that high 90s, 98, you see it coming. If it's mid-glove, mid-blocker, high, whatever, you see it coming and you kind of know the timing you have to get your hands to where it needs to go. And then all of a sudden it's an extra 5 or 6 miles an hour and you see it coming. It's not like it blows by and you can't see it, but it just arrives quicker. So if you're at the same speed of putting my blocker to where it needs to go, I have to understand that when I see that come off the stick, I need to get there quicker and be prepared for that, know who's shooting the puck. Because if you're just at that same thing as a lot of D-men with hard shots in that mid-90s range, and you just start to go at that pace to get your hands there, it arrives quicker and it'll be past you if you're not careful. So that those big point shots, Bouchard now, Shea Weber, Sheldon Surrey, kind of going through the years here, you got to be prepared for that velocity coming in from the point. So small sample size, you pretty much go through this a little bit with every single team. You look at their top end guys and their top scorers and their sneaky guys and different things they like to do. And I could talk about this forever, but we don't have enough time. So there's your answer. All right, next question from Tony Wong 4591. Why do you think the days of a true number one goalie who played 65 to 70 games a season are over? Great question. Analytics. Because this isn't a new thing now. Over the last however many years, it's got to be a huge sample size now. I don't know exactly what the number is. I want to say like we could be pushing a decade now of winning Stanley Cup goalies have played 55 or less games. Or maybe it's 60 or less. I don't remember what the number is, but it's around that 55 mark. And that stat kind of started piling up, and it became a trend. And then it became something that this isn't just a trend anymore. This is every single year. And they started to look into that more. I think that combined with more talent as well. I think that the talent level throughout the league is higher in volume. So there's more goalies who are capable of being 1Bs. Whereas before there was a lot of like you had your starter and then you had like a backup that would be making minimum and it wasn't expected to play. They were a great teammate, worked their butts off in practice, could give you a game here and there. And that's not knocking anybody that did that. They did a great job at their position, but not necessarily a guy who could jump in and be a starter if they need to. And I think now it's important, one, to try to keep your starting goalie fresh at that mark, but also the talent levels there on just about every team, their starter and their backup goalie. Their backup goalies they're capable of coming in and playing stretches of games if they need to, or playing more often and giving your team that opportunity to win games. So I think it wasn't the regular season side of it. Obviously, you had these starting goalies that were playing a lot. Myself was one of them. I was playing 65 plus, up to 68, I think, one year. And the regular season's fine, but there just seems to be a burnout when you get to playoffs, because you don't realize that playoffs are like an entire other season. If you want to win the Stanley Cup, that's 2 months. Like that's 2 months. That's January through March. That's, November through almost January. That's like a good chunk of a season. So you have a whole other season. And if you've already played too many games, you might get past the first round and burn out in the second, or it's just a lot of hockey. And so it's not just wear and tear physically, which can also be a problem, because that's a lot of months of hockey when you're playing every other day, every single game. But then also mentally, a mental burnout that, things get tough and playoffs are a grind, and, you've been going for 9 months. And you want to be able to stay as fresh as you want, because that whole playoff season is a whole nother ball game and a whole nother set of mental stresses and physical stresses that you need to be able to be fresh for. And I think that combination of having backup goalies be better and be more capable of playing more games and getting you wins, combined with that stat of, it's obviously a real thing that playing too many games causes burnout mentally and physically, and that trend continues. All right, on to the next question from Morton Abo. Did you consider playing in Europe when your contract expired in the NHL? And if so, which teams were in the running? And is Spengler Cup as cool as it seems? Ice Stadion Davos, I don't know if I said that right, looks unreal. I'm assuming that's the official name of the team in Davos. I thought they were HC Davos, but maybe that was before. Yes, Davos is unreal. So we'll get to both parts of this question. First of all, I sort of considered playing in Europe. I didn't really to begin with. I considered playing in Europe during the lockout. I looked into that a little bit. And I hadn't planned on playing in Europe, but that last year, after my last year in the NHL, was kind of a weird year. I thought I was retired. Hockey Canada asked me to play in the Spengler Cup. I said absolutely, because it's an amazing experience, which we'll get to in a second. I had nowhere to play. I hadn't been skating. I thought I was retired. So Charlotte called. They had some goalie injuries. They said, Florida, the Panthers called and said, heard you're looking to get ready for Spengler. Help us help you. You can come in. We've had some goalie injuries. You can get ready for Spengler and help us out while we're thin on goalies. So that worked great. I went to Charlotte, had a great time. The city was amazing. Guys on the team were awesome. Got ready, was ready to go to Spengler Cup, but got canceled due to COVID. Unfortunately, thought I was done again. But coming back, in and playing again kind of got me on, I think, some people's radar. Like they thought I was retired too and wasn't playing. And then I was playing, and so I started getting some calls. I got some KHL calls. And the only one that I really considered was Stockholm, actually in Sweden, was one that I looked at, because it would have been the second half of the season. But to me, the reasons I didn't go, I would have loved to go. Stockholm's an amazing place. Been there for World Championships, and so I think amazing city, English speaking. So for the kids, taking them over there would be easy. The reason it didn't work is the season before was very, very hard for me. The shortened season, being in San Jose, we weren't allowed to be there at the start. We started our training camp in Arizona. We started our first 12 games on the road. So my family was supposed to come. My wife and kids were supposed to come to San Jose. We had a house rented. They ended up not coming because we didn't actually get back into San Jose till the middle of February, early middle of February. And then I got traded, so that with school and everything, it didn't make sense to bring them. Then I got traded to Colorado. Long story short, I saw my wife and kids for a total of 17 days in 6 months. And so that had been a very, very tough year that way. And I was not interested in going away again for another few months without them. So the only way it was going to work was if they came with. So we really tried to look. We looked into schools for the second half of the year. We looked into housing and trying to figure out kind of how all that would work. And it just didn't work out. There was just too much to try to figure out in too little time. And certainly I wasn't going to go over for the money. It was just the experience. I thought it'd be cool for the kids. But it didn't work out. So that was as close as I got to playing in Europe. Now to the Spengler Cup. Spengler Cup holds a special place in my life, in my heart. Quick story on that for me. 2006, I was in Stockton, and I knew a little bit about the Spengler Cup. The only thing I knew about the Spengler Cup was I see it on TSN once in a while around Christmas, and I always was confused as to what it was. It was Team Canada for playing against these European club teams. And I didn't exactly know the structure, where these guys came from or whatever it was, until I got asked a week before, when I was in Stockton, before I got asked if I wanted to play in the Spengler Cup. I said, sure. And then I discovered kind of what it was, with players mostly from Switzerland, but can be all over, go and they play in the Spengler Cup. They make Team Canada, and then they play against different European club teams. And I went over there. I had no idea what to expect. Quick side story, my now wife at the time was, I don't even know if she was my girlfriend. She was sort of my girlfriend. We had just met that summer, and I didn't have anybody to bring to Spengler. And so I told Hockey Canada I was going to go by myself, and they kind of laughed at me, and they said, Dubey, it's a free trip to Switzerland. Bring somebody. And so I was like, they're like, do you have a girlfriend? And I was like, well, I think so. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. And they said, well, ask her. And everything that I'd done with Hockey Canada up until that point, World Juniors and stuff, like you couldn't even look at girls. You get in trouble. A coach would get you in trouble. So I didn't even consider that. Anyway, asked her, had just met her that summer, asked if she wanted to go to Switzerland for Christmas. And she said, sure, let me ask my mom. She ends up coming with me. We had just the best time in the world. Davos is one of the most majestic places you could ever see. It's in the middle of the Swiss Alps, this amazing little village type city. The rink is so cool. It's an old rink, wooden. They got the standing room section. It's loud in there. It feels exactly like European hockey, and you're in the middle of the Alps. There's this giant football field ice rink outside with a huge ring around it for skating. You could take a gondola up to the top of the mountain and look down at the city. I can go on and on. This place is just incredible. So we got to spend the week there, had an amazing time. I think it really brought us closer, close enough that we're married and have 3 kids now. So something worked there. And then I got asked to go again in the lockout year in 2012, and that was a whole different experience. It was fun because a bunch of NHL guys went over and played. So we had quite the roster for Spengler Cup, but some of the other teams had NHL guys on it as well. Davos had Joe Thornton and Patrick Kane and Louis Eriksson, so they had a pretty good roster as well. And this time I got to go over. My wife was pregnant, so I actually went over. I actually brought my brother over, And same thing, was just an unbelievable experience. I ended up playing all the games except for one, and we won the tournament. And different experience, obviously, with my brother there, but one we'll never forget. And I just can't say enough great things. Hockey Canada always does an incredible job looking after the players, and this was such a different feeling tournament, very family oriented. People have their wives and kids there, and it's very laid back. The hockey's important and focuses on hockey around the game times, but around that, it's seeing Davos, it's spending time getting to know people's families. It's very family oriented, and around Christmas time, that's super important. So just really hard to describe how great the experience is, but Spengler Cup is fantastic. Okay, that's another episode of Ask Dubey. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to submit your questions on all social media platforms using the hashtag AskDubey, or drop a question in the comment section below here and we'll get them answered. If we don't get them answered immediately, we got a bank of questions. We're going to try to get to every single question. So put them in there and I will get to them. And we got this training camp's coming just around the corner. So we'll start to heat things back up here. We're still at once every other week, but we'll be getting back to once a week. And I'm looking forward to answering your guys' questions every single week. As always, this segment brought to you by our friends at Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products are in the Wilhauk name, made from 100% pure Alberta beef. Wilhauk Beef Jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. It's so good. Wilhauk Beef Jerky gladly fills orders of any size. Find their beef jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc location, or you can order online. Get your jerky on. For more info, go to wilhaukbeefjerky.com.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.